Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Well, good day, Mr. Bermise. Happy Easter to you.
And a happy Easter to you. What a wonderful Sunday morning it is.
And don't you sound gravelly?
Well, this is not only the first person I'm speaking to, it's the first thing I'm doing, period. I have not even had coffee. So I'm just gonna do the usual thing where my voice warms up through the show.
Okay.
But yes, what a beautiful day to discuss the antepenultimate episode of season 3 of Star Trek Picard.
Anti-penultimate. I love that.
That's right.
Today it started 2380-409.3.
And we're talking about Star Trek Picard season 3 episode 8 entitled Surrender. Which has quite a bit of surrendering style things in it. Acceptance, admittance, so on and so forth. But before we get into the episode, I think we've got to handle a little bit of business.
We have a Patreon, people. Have you not heard about it? We have one. We would like you to join in our continuing mission as we discover all things Star Trek, as we have Zoom hangs and watch parties. Aki might cook from the Book of Neelix, and so on and so forth. But you can't do any of that with us unless you join us at patreon.com/setphasers. That's setphasers.com. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's patreon.com/setphasers. But by all means, do check out our website, setphaserspodcast.com.
You guess. You could also go to the website, but you should really go to the Patreon. That's where the real jazz is happening.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we talk about what's going on in this episode?
Does that mean... should we run it down?
Yeah, let's run it down.
Let's run it down.
It's time to run it down.
Can you run it down for me? Talk about Picard now. Run it down.
Yeah, so remember how Vadic took over the Titan at the end of the last episode? But only sort of, took over the bridge because Seven didn't blow the turbo lift. So, I mean, that's the theory. So now Vadic has control of the bridge with a few of her changeling. I don't know. Yeah, why are they, if they're changelings, why are they, I don't know. Sure. Anyway, she's got the whole bridge crew and control the ship, and she's locking people out of the ship. And also, Geordi and Alondra are taking Uber data offline because they don't know when it's going to be data, when it's going to be lore. And Picard and Beverly and Jack and Sydney are together in a lab somewhere. And basically, that's the situation that's happening. But Vadic is sending people out to sort of just take out little pockets of people, start to try to find Jack. And Jack has one of his eyeballs turn red episodes where he takes over somebody's body and can see what they see and hear what they hear. And he sees them through the door looking at a bunch of people who have been shot, wounded, or are wounded, and scared. And then I think he experiences that person getting shot, and he jumps out of it. Anyway, Vadic has the command staff line up on the bridge, and she basically is like, listen, I'm going to start killing people until somebody turns Jack Crusher over to me. Meanwhile, on the Shrike, Troy,
Sorry, don't know what happened.
That's all right.
We have sensitive buttons here.
Meanwhile, don't we all? Meanwhile, on the Shrike, Will and Deanna are still prisoners on the ship, but they're spending their time as people who have been prisoners on ships probably so many times. They're like, well, this is a great time to catch up and do some small talk. Troy does say that she can't really sense most of the changelings, but she can sense that Vadic is full of anger and vengeance and all that stuff. And so we now know that they're there, and the two ships are in the same. They're still in that junkyard from last episode. So Vadic gives that ultimatum again and basically says if Jack doesn't turn himself in, then every 10 minutes she's going to shoot somebody, kill somebody basically, on the bridge crew. And Jack is thinking he can take back the ship by maybe connecting to people. So Picard tells him about this override code, and he goes into one of the people on the bridge using his talents now without even being able to see who they are. He's truly coming into his own, and he almost gets the override codex in, but Vadic catches it, and she realizes it's Jack because she knows about these powers. Dun, dun, dun. And so, she then, after toying with people for a while, executes Lieutenant Devine, causing great consternation for everyone, including 7 of 9 and Captain Shaw. Meanwhile, Riker and Troy bond over basically like their misunderstandings of each other over Thad's death and how they maybe didn't trust each other, but now are learning to trust each other again, and Riker's experience in the nebula and Troy's experience as a counselor and so on and so forth. And then they also bond over the fact that they both hate Nepenthe. They both hate that house. They don't like how isolated it is. They want to go back to a city. And they're just so happy that they want to do that. Troy also mentions, I feel it is important to say, Roctagino lattes, which if we ever do a Cooking with Aki segment, I will be making said. Let's see. They are embracing each other over this newfound understanding of one another when they are come upon by one of the changelings, who is immediately killed by none other than Worf, who is showing up to save them. And then there's a wonderful moment of their reunion, and also Worf praising Troy, making Riker somewhat uncomfortable with how praiseful he is of Troy. And anyway, it's as poetic as it would be an understatement for Worf's language regarding Counselor Troy in that moment. Meanwhile, on the Titan, Picard realizes that they're going to need data if they're going to take back over the ship. So they go to find Geordi and Alondra. So now you got Geordi, Alondra, Picard, Beverly, Jack, Sydney, Geordi, Uber Data all in one room, and they got to get Data there because he's the only thing fast enough to sort of hack in and take over the ship. And the issue is that there's that partition between Data and Lore, and if they dump the partition, then Lore is going to take over Data, but they have to do it, so they go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, on the Shrike, Worf brings Troy and Riker to meet Rafi, and they see Picard's remains, and they realize that the changelings didn't want all the remains. They only wanted the parts of the parietal lobe that were concerned with Picard's Irumodic syndrome. What the hell is this about? But before they can really dig in, they have to just download the database and run for their shuttle. Jack, to buy time for hopefully Data to do something, goes to the bridge of the Titan with what is perceived to be a bomb in his hand. Inside the Lore Data universe, Lore is devouring Data, and he's taking all of Data's memories. Data is starting to shut down. Jack does get Vadic to sort of give up the hostages. He hasn't locked them away, so at least they're not being, but 7 decides to remain behind. Data begins to surrender to Lord's devouring of him and starts giving him various memories. In the end, he loses all of himself, down to at last Spot the cat. And then once Lore thinks he's got it all, Data comes raging back because he knew that Lore couldn't resist holding onto these trophies that he loved so much, that he coveted so much of Data. And so by doing so, they have become Data. And Data gets control of the ship, and he takes over things, and they're able to get communications back. So the people on the ship are able to communicate with the people on the shuttle, the Worf, Rafi, Riker, Troy. Jack, turns out it wasn't a bomb at all. It's a force field. He puts 7 in it, and then tells Picard, now! And Picard has some sort of emergency airlock that's right on the bridge open up, and Vadic is sucked out into space, where, it should be noted, she freezes and then shatters on a deflector disc.
I just want to point out that there is no coming back for Vadic from that. Like, to me, it's like a Lorca never coming back thing. We saw him fall into the thing, be burned up. That, to me, exactly the same thing. There's no coming back for Vadic.
It's perfect that you mentioned that, because as I saw her die, all I could think of was, this is exactly like Lorca's death, and probably they just need to gather all the pieces of her and then warm them up. Should be fine. And who better to gather up all the pieces of Vadic and become a super big bad in a new Star Trek miniseries event than Lorca? Lorca and Vadic together, both of them clad in black clothes, just being maniacs. Anyway, you're right. It's probably no way I wrote down she is broken into smithereens.
Yes.
So it would be difficult to find all the pieces. I mean, someone could do it. They have pretty advanced computers. They could probably find all the pieces. All right.
Probably,
doesn't matter.
But I doubt showrunners would go for that. I'm sorry.
Well, let me write a spec script about how this could work. We just have to get 2 fairly big actors to sign on to do this, and then also, I don't know, I'll figure it out. This could be
you do that.
No. We're not gonna delve into my fanfic today. Yes, she is destroyed into smithereens. And then the Titan is able to shoot the Shrike and blow it into smithereens as well. Deanna, when she comes onto the ship, she senses something like an all-consuming darkness. The senior staff all get together around a table once again. Frontier Day is hours away. If that seems possible, all this has been happening within like 3 days. Troy says that there's a voice inside of Jack that's ancient and weak and not his own. And so Troy says she must meet Jack, and she asks him about the door, and she says, let's go in together. And that is the end of episode 8. Whew. I'm scared myself that we only had one left of episode 8 of season 3 of Star Trek Picard, entitled Surrender. Let's chat about that.
I say, darling, let's do a quick chat about that.
Yes, let's do.
So, the anti-penultimate episode. Vadic is dead. We don't know who the real villain is. What's going to happen on Frontier Day? What's wrong with Jack? So many unanswered questions.
For 2 episodes. It's going to really have to cram these things in. Although I did, in my search, find out that the last 2 episodes were written by Terry Matalas. So maybe he's bringing it to a big, tour de force ending. He knows exactly where he wants it to go.
Who was this big bad villain?
No idea. The guy who used to be Vadic's hand is now big bad villain guy. But who are they even going to find them? I guess we go into this red door and we find out more about Jack, and maybe we find out where we have to go. Also, Frontier Day is happening, and there's some kind of attack for that. There's like 3 things happening: Jack's brain, face hand guy, and Frontier Day attack with the changelings all through Starfleet. So it's pretty complicated.
Yeah.
And was Vadic their leader, or was Vadic just the leader of the Shrike, and hand guy is the leader of all the changelings? Because Vadic is the one that shared her weird sheet, right?
I think Vadic was the pawn that was just making it happen. She was the minion.
But she's the one who was able to turn the changelings into the kinds of changelings they were.
Yes, but why is she so terrified of this other possible changeling?
We don't know that this other person is a changeling. We just know that they're talking through her hand flesh, which is gross.
Through her hand flesh.
Yeah.
So it's not.
It could be anything.
Another like wormhole anus.
Like wormhole anus. Well, listen, wormhole anus is just a good way of describing what that weapon was. I wonder who could be a bigger bad than, but still somehow be connected to the changelings that we know of? I can't think of a single person.
I mean, do we think this is a new villain? Do we think this is an old villain? Like a reveal at the end. Ha ha! It was you all along. Sort of
It was I,
Scooby-Doo-esque.
me, you. But who? We've dealt with all Picard's long-term enemies and frenemies. The Borg and Q in the last season. Gosh, I don't know. Well, I guess that's what we'll find out. That's why we're watching the show. Because if we knew, we'd know. But I am curious
then we
to know.
wouldn't need to watch.
Yeah. Is Jack's superpowers to take over people's brains, which is weird. He's just like walking in people's bodies. That can't be good. Like, how is that? What is that about?
And what kind of syndrome did Picard have? Could he have done this? Like, is this something like that was in him all along?
Picard
The
could have.
sleeping gene?
Yeah. And you know, Vadic does call Jack baby boy when he comes on the bridge. So I wonder if there's some kind of weird connection between the changelings and Jack and the Irmotic syndrome and hand meat guy and Picard and Beverly.
Was there a body swap? Was there a baby swap?
Ooh, that's called the changeling, isn't it?
I don't know.
It is, yes. In the old fairy tales, you would have the changeling baby would be swapped out by some eldritch fairy right before a baby was given birth. You'd a pregnant woman on the mortal plane. Let me just put on my glasses. A pregnant woman on the mortal plane, right before she gave birth, a fairy would come in and like swap out her baby for like a fairy baby. They called it a changeling.
And what mythology is this?
I don't know, general European fairy tale mythology.
Okay, not familiar, but I will trust you.
Yeah, I'm not going to Google it because
as
what's
a
the
European,
point?
I find this is news.
Hey, I like to dig into the deep dark corners of fantasy and science fiction, and I'm telling you, that's what they call the thing. I'm pretty sure where a fairy swaps your baby at birth. It's called the changeling, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, well.
Anyway, you suggested it, and it's the same words. That's cool. It can be a cool thing. Anyway.
Yes, indeed.
It's not just me out here with tinfoil. It's not just a random theory on my end. What else is there to discuss? I guess we finally have the whole group back together. Data, Troy, Riker, Geordi, Worf, Picard, the senior staff.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing no one's dead, I'll be honest.
Oh, it's shocking. Yeah. I guess they're all very well, healthy, looking after themselves actors in Hollywood.
I guess so. Lucky them.
I think you're lucky if you're on a TV show for 7 straight years in the 90s. Probably you're doing okay as far as
because in those
what
days,
you need to do.
I mean, money was, good economy, plus 26 episodes a season. It's not like these days where your seasons are like 6 to 10 episodes.
Precisely. Yeah. They're like, great, well, I'll just do some cons every year. If you want, you can start a podcast. If you want, you can direct some episodes,
They didn't know how good it was going to be.
Well, they had it good from 1988. Yeah, that's right. It is shocking that they all are still alive and still acting, but it was great to see them all together around the table. It's truly, they struck while the iron is hot. This is a great way to end off this 3-season arc of Picard.
Indeed.
I feel bad for all the like Rafi and Seven have done the full run, but I feel bad for Daj and Alison Pill. Although she got to chew the scenery last season. It's just like the people that started Star Trek Picard 3 years ago, they're completely get them out of there because we now have the main TNG crew back.
Well, I mean, maybe that was the goal all along, but you needed to get it there. You just give it some legs of its own, not just be a nostalgia run.
True. I do also feel bad for Picard's former housekeeper, now girlfriend.
Oh, no one's given a thought to her in the last 8 episodes.
She was like, so we're gonna, you have to go. Okay, great. I'll leave. I'll hold a chair for you at the conference. He hasn't even mentioned should I call the person that I've said that I love and tell them that I'm all right? Don't worry, that seems like I'm nothing. He's just.
I think she'll get a sort of 30-second. But it was Beverly I loved all along at the end, and I'm sorry, and bye bye.
You think so?
I think she'll cut. There'll be some nod to it, for sure.
You think Picard and Beverly are going to get together at the end of this?
Yes, absolutely.
No way. I don't think so.
All right, then he goes back to Irish Romulan.
She goes back to Irish Romulan, and he brings Jack, and he's like, this is my girlfriend that I'm hanging out with.
All right, shall we? Let's move on to Easter eggs, shall we?
Okay, let's move on. It's Easter. I can't believe we're doing Easter eggs. It's ridiculous. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's just so meta that we're doing this. Here we are on Easter, and we go immediately to the Easter egg desk with Stevie Man. Stevie, what have you got to say for us today?
Well, Aki, I hadn't actually quite picked up on that reference when you said it's ridiculous that it's Easter and we're doing Easter eggs. Blah, blah. Got it now. Thank you so much.
So, plethora, or a bounty, a basket full of Easter eggs, if you will. It being Easter Sunday here on Set Phasers. Well, of course, we start off and Vadic is smoking on the bridge, and I think some people thought this might have been a sort of bit of a throwback to Khan, and the way that he took over the bridge, I think, in one particular episode. There were lots of original series bridge sound effects, if you notice. There were lots of these little pings and things that were quite fun to listen out for. We start. Troy says she misses Raktajino lattes, as you mentioned, and Raktajino is, of course, Klingon coffee, first mentioned in Deep Space Nine, the episode Dax, and Benjamin Sisko, our Captain Benjamin Sisko, also absolutely loves drinking these types of lattes. We will develop some sort of these Klingon coffees. I feel like it must be close to a Vietnamese coffee.
It's possible. I don't know that Sisko drank lattes. He drank Raktajino. Everyone on Deep Space Nine drank Raktajino like they were going out of style. Raktajino lattes, you had to go down to Quark's and get something fancy. But yeah, I don't know. I assume it's like a Vietnamese coffee. I don't know. This is a good question. I'll Google it. I'll figure it out.
Kestra is mentioned when Riker and Troy are having their little chit-chat, and they're saying, oh, well, if we die, then she will have lost everyone. And one might honestly wonder where on earth Kestra is at this moment and who is looking after our mini heroine. The answer, it seems, is that Kestra is already in an early admissions program at Starfleet Academy. This confirmed by Picard's showrunner Terry Matalas in a tweet just before this episode aired. So don't worry about Kestra if you are concerned about her. She's absolutely fine and probably has no knowledge of the trouble that her parents are in right now.
Wow.
Yeah. Fun fact. So we also throw back to that time that Worf dated Troy. And Riker says that his little monologue to Troy about how much he's thought about seeing her was very inappropriate. Mm-hmm. So we hear the Jerry Goldsmith Klingon theme, you might notice, when Worf comes to the rescue. And he launches into this emotional speech, referencing the fact that Worf and Deanna briefly dated in TNG. I forget which season. Was it 6, maybe 7?
Yeah, it was
very late.
Yes.
Very late. Following the events of the episode Parallels, so I forgot to look up what season that was. And in fact, the alternate future in All Good Things, Deanna's death in that timeline had driven a huge wedge between Worf and Riker. Huge! But in the current real timeline, Worf and Riker are now both slightly older than they were. Deanna is alive and married to Commander / newly, maybe not that newly minted Captain, Riker himself. Mm-hmm. So that was a little bit of fun, that little ménage à trois, if you will. It's not really, but, you know.
Okay, that's fine.
You know what I mean.
Moving on.
Love triangle, that's what it was.
There we go.
Data's memories, just chock full of Easter eggs. It was just
Each one.
all given
Yeah.
to you there. Of course, we had a TNG tricorder. We had a deck of playing cards, which Data said represented the many games of poker he played, including Cause and Effect, The Best of Both Worlds, and all good things. The hologram of Tasha Yar, obviously.
Yes.
And Denise Crosby actually tweeted after the episode was aired that she was delighted that Tasha was given a nice little nod. So, and she tweeted to like pretty much everyone at CBS, including Tara Metalis.
Wonderful.
So there you are. I think we were wondering whether or not Tasha Yar would come back in some form, and she has, but not
As
in
a
the
memory.
flesh, as it were.
She's out there with Lorca and Vadic.
Indeed. And Spot, Data's cat, appeared in various TNG episodes. In the beginning with Data's day and was last seen in Nemesis. So it was nice to see Spot, and I'm sure, you know, they used that lovely ginger tabby cat for the reason that it could be replicated in many, many different iterations of Star Trek.
Oh, yes.
Just
Yeah.
grab it.
Yeah.
Just grab
They're
some
like-
ginger cat. So that was the best of the Easter eggs that I had. Did you spot any more?
No, that was it. The Ractogena Latte and Tasha Yar were my top Easter eggs.
Well, all right then, Archie, it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you very much, and we'll go immediately to, once I move all these windows around, immediately to quotable moments.
Quotable moments.
There's a couple very nice quotes in this episode.
Yes, there are.
I'm particularly fond when Jack confronts Vadic on the bridge, and Vadic is doing Jack's like, "Why are you here?" And Vadic is doing the usual sort of circumlocutions of what is going on instead of coming straight at it. Jack says, "Look, Vadic, if at any point you want to stop talking in batshit circles, I'm all ears." I thought that was great. And Picard and Deanna, when they finally are talking about how much they hate their house on Nepenthe.
You mean Riker and Deanna?
Did I say Picard? Riker and Deanna. Riker says, that house, it's like it was designed by... this is what Troy says. The house, it's like it was designed by a cabal of retro prairie hipsters. Which...
I think she said hippies, didn't she?
I think she said hipsters.
Did you say
hippies?
I thought she said hippies.
Maybe I did a thing. Wow, maybe it's hippies. Maybe I hate hipsters. Anyway, I was like, wow, real slam on those season 1 writers. And then Riker says, even the way the front stairs groaned at me. And then Troy says, it's a very judgy foyer.
Yes.
Very sweet. Very sweet. Did you have any particular...
I had a couple. They were sort of less, full lines than anything else. But when Geordi and Picard are chatting, and he says, "Oh yes, you gave me that bottle of dry wine or something," and Picard, looks a little bit bothered and says, "Well, your understanding of wine is pedestrian at best."
Yes. No one seems to like those Chateau Picard. Like, Worf doesn't like him, Geordi doesn't like him. Who likes that?
I have heard it's actually quite good, and we must.
Oh yeah,
we must have some. Deanna to Riker. They're talking about the changeling who impersonated him, and she said, "How did you know it was me?" And she said, "Well, he was good in bed and bad at pizza."
Oh.
Or something like that. I think that was that.
That's what she said, and he said, "Oh, just like me." And she
Yes.
was like, "Well,
I don't know. Just like me, good in bed and bad at pizza." I liked it when Data was referring to Vadic and the changelings, and he said they're monologuing protoplasms, which sounded something
That's
a bit
right.
more like out of Ghostbusters than
it's
Star
true.
Trek.
A very lore-esque."
It was very
Insult.
lore-esque. So maybe
Yeah.
that's where lore is sort of there too. That's a very lore line.
It's a very lore line. I have that full thing written out. "Greetings, USS Titan. This is your friendly positronic pissed off security system back online. Unwanted guests and monologuing protoplasms. I am initiating an immediate shift change." That was very nice. And then finally, Vadic, as she is sucked out of the emergency airlocks, she merely says, "Fucking solids," and then is gone.
Was that the best parting line?
I mean, it just shows that she's like, God, I loved it. Yes. It could have been like, "You will hear from me through your dreams, Picard." Would have been more like, if she had gone like Shakespearean or something. But I like that she was just like, ugh, this is it. I lost. Fucking solids. Practical.
Indeed. Is that all we have?
Yes. So let's move on to next time.
Let's!
Next time on Set Phasers.
Da-da-da-da! Oh, you want to keep
Yes.
this thing?
No.
Oh,
What? It's,
okay.
it's just very. It was very. I was letting it be fully. Okay, no.
We were letting it immerse you, surround
I was
you.
letting it. Yes. Until I was waiting till we got to like this. Yeah. Well, cha. If you liked what you heard, hey, listen to more of it. We're called Set Phasers, and we have plenty of back episodes of pretty much every post-aughts Star Trek. I don't know how to describe it. Basically all the Paramount Plus Star Treks. It's Discovery, Strange New Worlds, Picard, Lower Deck. So we talk about all of it, and you can find that wherever you get your podcasts. So please do that.
Yes, and don't forget, you must follow us on patreon.com/setphasers to be part of all the things that we do behind the scenes, including Zoom hangs, watch parties, cooking shows, cocktail making, and more. You can also get to check out my dog rap, if you remember that from a few episodes ago.
Boy.
Yes.
Let me tell you something right now. You want to pay to check out the dog rap. I'm talking to the listener.
Yes, you do,
Good
and
money.
it's so reasonable. It's from I think it's $3 a month. You may join us, but yes, you can do all that and more at patreon.com/setphasers.
Yes, you can also follow us on social media, which would be Set Phasers Podcast on Instagram and on Facebook. And also, as we mentioned earlier in the episode, setphaserspodcast.com if you want to go to our website.
Indeed. Well, that's all from us. I am Stevie Mans.
And I am a very judgy Foyer. And this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Computer. End program.
It's so... Okay. Just stop it. It's so... Did we do it? Yes. Wonderful.